Hey, good morning, Bill.
Hi, how are you?
Hey, doing good. How are you?
Good, good.
I saw last week there was a problem for folks to join in, right? Like I saw that
Right, right.
uh, Tom couldn't make it because he didn't had access to the Zoom. I hope those things are resolved. Let check with him.
Yeah, I was waiting and then I gave up. But later
Yeah,
on,
yeah.
they changed
I
the
was in the
scientific
flight, so
session.
I was unaware of that discussion altogether. So yeah, I got
Oh, okay. Okay, no problem.
it.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's give folks a few more minutes. I had a discussion some time back with Shiv, so he should be joining in.
Good.
Hi, all.
Hey, hello, hey Shiv.
Yeah, hi. I thought my mic was not working. So,
No, I can hear you. Fine. Let's give a couple of more minutes for folks to join in. Meanwhile, I'm just creating the meeting notes document. Okay. I think one of the important things for us to discuss today is that there was a project created in the context of R3. So I wanted to make sure that all of us here are aware of it. Um, and it basically takes it's basically is a full complete bucket list of all the things that we might possibly want to do for R3. It's it's impossible to handle all of these things. I don't know whether some of these things can be assigned. Like I'm not able to clearly assign it myself. So tomorrow there is a discussion in the SIG automation, is what I understand, about what is it that R3 is the scope of R3 is going to be. And we can if anyone is wants to join that meeting, it would be very helpful.
Mm.
So this has almost everything. I don't think some of those action items we will have to clearly say that it's not within the scope of R3. Uh, and then we'll have to provide what could be the scope of R3 within whatever is mentioned here. I don't see certain action items mentioned here. For example, the identity part. So I plan to join the call for tomorrow. If anyone else is interested, please let's have that discussion. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything? Is there any specific feedback in the context? Has anyone else had a chance to look at this?
Mm.
uh,
Okay.
Manuela, is that you? Are you trying to speak?
So, yes, but I think I mute. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. I was just asking, what is the
Your voice has some
very low, very
there is
low?
a yeah. No,
there's a
it's not
echo,
low.
echo,
There's
echo.
an echo, or I'm not sure if it can be characterized as echo,
Okay.
but yeah.
I don't know why. Do you hear me better?
Nope. It's the
No,
same.
same. Okay. So are you using laptop microphone or using the headphone? Headphone. Oh, not good then. It's echo, a lot of echo.
Yeah. Okay. If it's a quick point,
Okay,
it's still
I mute. I
audible.
try to solve.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's see if she comes back. I don't know whether she wanted to say something in the context of this. Uh, we don't see any identity related aspect mentioned in this list, right? Like I don't know whether it can be considered for R3, but certainly the improving secrets management is mentioned here, so I don't know how that is going to happen, if not the identity.
Okay, do you hear me now?
But it's the same problem, Manuela. It's the same. Yeah, it's the same.
No, even without.
No, same echo.
Same echo, similar echo. Yeah. Okay.
What is you talking about the 70 improved secret management?
Yes, that's the one.
Don't
But I
know.
don't see any. Yeah, I don't see any action items in the context of
Yeah, I
the
didn't see
identity
it.
part, identity, which was explicitly discussed with the scope working group, right? Like so, maybe yeah. It's let's see. Tomorrow things will be more clear. Let's see. Any
Now,
other
Ross,
action? Yeah.
I'm sorry. Last conversation, he said we, not instead of putting into R3 directly, I
Yeah.
think there's some
Yeah.
POC and then for
Yeah.
R4 and get readiness for R4. So that's why I understand no R3
No.
for
Yeah.
security except
That makes
secret
sense.
management.
That makes sense. But for secrets management, how did it make the list? Is what I'm trying to understand.
I
Is there
don't know.
some?
I don't know
Yeah.
why just went in there. It's not
Okay.
ready yet.
Okay. All right.
You can sort it out tomorrow. So
Yep.
secret is kind of what
Yep.
Prashant? Who someone put the
Prashant was
secret?
working on it. Yeah, Prashant worked on the document, but the prerequisite was there are all sorts of other prerequisites for it, right? Like so.
Yes, yes.
So actually, probably wouldn't it make sense to have workload identity in R3 and then secrets in R4? I mean, that might be a more
So the
logical.
concern is, so Shiv, we can do the POC in R3 is what the point is, and I'll try to discuss tomorrow. Look, frankly,
Okay.
for
Yeah, got it.
R3, we just
Yeah.
have maybe uh, 2 or at best 3 months, right? Like that's what we are seeing. April is done. April now there's one summit that's coming up, so a few weeks will be gone in that as well. So, but again,
Okay, got it. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
just
think the order is right, Shiv. The workload identity access management first and secret. The order is right, and then but even the workload identity.
Sorry, do you hear now? Sorry
yes,
for the disturb, but now it's better.
yes,
Yeah,
way
definitely.
better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I missed last 5 minutes because I just tried to solve my audio issue.
Mm-hmm.
And I was I needed to say that for Ericsson, introducing the identity and access management is pretty, how to say, urgent. I mean, we need it in R3. So I see that is not included, but for sure in Ericsson product we need it. This is the first point. And the second point was if you have any additional detail on the improved secrets management, because even this is pretty important for us. And I don't know who is, if he's in this SIG4 or in something else, and maybe it was presented time ago, or if we need to do something now. Sorry to interrupt you. I don't know what you're speaking about. I didn't want to.
No, so that
I
understood. The
just
point is
lost
understood,
the audio.
Manuela. But it's not only the urgency from from the organizations that we can take into consideration here, right? Like if we have contributors who can actually contribute and make it work within the given time frame and show enough motivation that we can actually say with confidence that we can handle this in a couple of months time, that is the level of commit. So that level of this thing has to be there, right? Like then we can take back and say this thing. So but the reason why I'm kind of skeptical about making it work in 2 months time is because you right now we are not even in POC state, right? Like so the concept has to be proved. I'm pretty sure there are a few requirements that will change on the way. Making it finally work in the R3 is a big undertaking in my opinion. And again, I'm happy to be proven wrong. Uh, but that's how I see it, at least as of now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then okay. I'm going to tell it to Kiran Johnston, because was pushing me
Yeah.
to to have
If it,
this
it would
inside.
be,
But
yeah,
okay.
best would be to have, if you'll be available for the discussion tomorrow, that would be nice as well. So let's see the overall general tone of what's in the scope of R3 and all that, right? Like, so there are so many action items that are mentioned here. These are
Mhm.
actually,
Let
some
me
of these
say
action
that
items are too big.
I'm going to tell him, and then
Sure.
I see what I should.
Okay.
Okay,
Sure.
that's
Okay.
perfect. And instead about the secret, do you know some more detail? The protection of oh, I lose it now. Was improve secrets management is our SIG.
Yeah. So there is some information available here about what's been discussed and all that. But again, frankly speaking, that it seems like there has been some discussion happening somewhere else that is was not so this is something that we need to understand from tomorrow's discussion. My intention is to just join the call, ensure that from the security perspective, what are the action items, what is the background, and we tell them what our thought process was in the context of fulfilling some of these use cases, like deploying Vault C plus CSI driver is easy, provided you have certain prerequisites already handled. And how is those going to be handled is what we need to check. So the aim for tomorrow's call, from my perspective, is going to be just make sure that we tell them what the team had been thinking about, the SIG security had been thinking about from all.
Raul, tomorrow meeting, is that you're talking about SIG automation, right?
Yes, SIG automation. I hope I got it correct because I checked with Bala. He said it is the same meeting. It's yeah, it's 9
But
a.m. PST. Yeah.
okay, but then your intention about this topic in the tomorrow meeting is to, I mean,
Sorry,
what do you want to say about this secret management in the tomorrow meeting?
AA. First,
Try
I
to
want to
insert
understand
it
what their
in
point of view
R3
is.
or
No. So tomorrow's meeting is purely going to be an educational meeting for me, because some of these discussions that have happened is way old. As you can see, this point was brought up on September 14th, and again, Vim had been apprising us up of some of these points before as well. So if the team says that without this we cannot do R3 at all, if something
Mhm,
like that shows up in the meeting,
mhm.
then we might want to revisit some of our action items. Basically, tomorrow's meeting is just to understand. So tell us, this has shown up
Okay, then
here.
if I can, I join. So it would
Absolutely, no,
be
yeah.
educational also for me.
Yeah. There's no prerequisite or predefined action items
Okay,
before we join
I
the
need
meeting.
to register to it or
No. It's a general meeting. It's a general SIG automation meeting. So
okay,
anyone can
okay,
join and
okay,
just get
okay.
yourself into the meeting.
But
Yeah,
Raul, in
Talas
case
and
there's some, yeah, in case someone asks the question, the sharing information. But I think the currently, to my understanding, this group, they put the workload identity and access management first, then secret management. That's
correct.
the priority I heard. And
Agreed.
then also, yeah, also the workload user identity access management.
Hmm.
If someone pushing it, if we can print R3, we're gonna execute implement for POC based, right? So
Right.
not wasting our time just doing. I think the even workload identity looks like Shiv gonna do a POC because we don't have enough time for R3. So anyway, we can discuss tomorrow. But our preference is workload identity POC, and then also followed by the secret later on. And then user identity access manager, we have to discuss internally, but most likely for now, during R3, it's going to be POC based. I mean, it can be put to R3, but the POC based, but we can discuss tomorrow.
Yeah. My assumption is that whatever we can make it work by the end of May, we'll make it to R3. Because without that, reviews and all that process is going to take a long time. So let's just assume that. Anyways, yeah, a lot of things just on tomorrow's meeting. So let's see what gets discussed there. I don't know whether the time will be enough to actually discuss all of this. Tomorrow is one of the first meeting that's going to happen. So let's see. I'll try to check if security can be brought up first. Okay. Is there anything else that anyone wants to share in this meeting? I know Shiv, you had something to talk about. Is there anything else that anyone wants to bring up before we move into that discussion about workload identity? Shiv, am I right that you want to present something?
Yeah, that's correct. Because I shared a couple of documents last week.
Last week, right? Yeah.
And also, I'd given a couple of comments on the identity and access management user story, whatever manual I had prepared, right? So yeah, that's probably a separate discussion, but I want to talk about these workload related documents.
Right. Yeah. Right. Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah, please go ahead, Shiv, if you want to share the screen and take us through.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, are you able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah. So the first thing, basically, I added a workload identity management user story. So this is just to keep things, somewhat more neater in the sense that there is, I mean, last time Byung had pointed out that there is a section in the identity management which has this particular aspect. So I've basically just expanded on that particular aspect and kept it in a separate document. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I request folks to review this and it basically tries to identify what are the requirements of this particular user story, and it's yeah. So that's one thing which I would request this particular team to take a look and give you feedback on. The other thing is the workload identity design, where should I just give a brief overview of the requirements and then go to the identity design, or how does it work? So I'll just give you a brief overview of this one, right? In the sense that the basic idea, what I'm trying to say is that there is a workload identity provider, and there are workloads which are there in a given cluster, and each of them can request for an identity, and you will get an identity, and along with that, tokens, which you can use to authenticate this particular workload to other workloads, and also a bundle, which will basically help you to authenticate other workloads when they're trying to contact you. So it's basically, these tokens are used when you are a client, when the workload is a client, and this bundle is used when the workload is a server. So that's what I wanted to convey as part of this particular, in this diagram. And
Shiv, while we are at that diagram,
yeah,
when you say workload is going to request an identity, right? Like, do you actually mean the workload, or is it going to be some other, some sidecar or something like that? Because we can't say workload, right? Because these are predefined UPF, SMF workloads, which we cannot possibly change for our identity purpose.
That's correct also, but from the perspective of identity, the sidecar itself is part of the workload.
Right. So
yeah,
sidecar-based model, right? Like in
yeah,
that.
yeah, I get your point. So probably we can add that requirement which says that there are existing workloads, and to help them out, we have to write sidecars or some supporting infrastructure which will help you to get the identity. But from the identity perspective, they are part of the workload. So I think that's a point.
Can you please add that point to the
sure.
list? Yeah, thank you.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, and I'll put it as part of the diagram also. Yeah, that should be.
Sorry, the workload identity provider, you say that is different from user identities, and this is for the nature of the user and workload identities. But then it is based on the protocol, on the authentication protocol too, or what it is exactly this workload identity provider?
Yeah, so Manuel, I've tried to identify a workload identity provider, but basically trying to understand the requirements, and then, but then this is not talking about the implementation, right? So So in that sense, I mean, I'm not talking about whether it's going to be the same or different from the user identity provider, but in general, I'm trying to delineate the workload identity related requirements. But then, as per the implementation, since the protocols are going to be different, this workload identity provider will be a separate entity. And this basically maps to a Spire server in our case. So that's how I've tried to put it. I've not tried to mention the protocol over here, but if folks are okay with it, that might be one point. But then I didn't want to, identify a solution in this requirement. So I've just tried to say what are the general requirements, right? So does that answer your query, Manuela?
Yes, more or less, but when you say token, what are token? Are JVT token? Are
so that's what I said over here, that tokens and certificate bundles are provided with this identity. The tokens can be used for TLS authentication, and the certificate bundles can be used to verify the identities of other workloads and
okay,
authenticate
this is
TLS.
what the token are used for. Is not the description of the nature of the token itself, if I well understand. I mean, is a JVT token made by claims? Is something like that, or could be, or this is a more general definition, including also something else?
Yeah, so I've tried to, say that, what exactly do we need from an identity provider, right? It's basically, you need tokens to send across when you're initiating a request, or you need a bundle or root certificates or a root certificate chain to verify a request from some other entity. So I've tried to keep it generic, and this is what is expected from an identity provider. I've not tried to mention that it's JOT or whether it is X509 or whatever. And so, and anyways, Fifi provides both of them. But then to delineate the requirement, I think that was probably I can call that out specifically. I think that's a feedback. I think I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah, but if I well understood, in Spiffy is able to interoperate with any kind of identity, meaning both certificate and token. But Spiffy itself is not the issuer, the generator of this token or certificates. Instead, here we are also speaking about how to provide this token and the certificate. So, okay, certificate is well defined. I guess it is an X509 certificate. Instead for token, I think we need to better define what we are referring to.
Sure, I can add that.
That's a good, but Manuela, I think that for now the user identity and the token we have to discuss further, but user identity, the access management, and the workload identity management, they handle separately. And later on, after we both achieve that they should have connection, how to make connection from user token to specific token, some mapping. But for now, to my understanding, a shift focus on the user workload identity and access management. But
yes, but yes, this is clear. But even in the context of workload identity, if I speak about a token, I need to say what this token is.
Understand. That's why that information is important. But the two, I'm just trying to do two work. One is user, one is workload. They are working separately, two independent, parallel. But later on, make it the connection. That's why for the connection, we need to have shared.
I wasn't speaking about the connection between IDAM and the workload identities. Here, I am speaking about the fact that here we are mentioned token, and it is not the token that is provided by the AAM that we put a requester on. Is a more general concept, and is important to specify. It's not related to the connection that is going to come after later on.
That's what
that's
I've
the
tried
layer
to
one.
mention. Yeah, mentioned over here. I tried to say that this is different from workload identities and used for authenticating connections between workloads themselves. So I've tried to set out the scope of this particular user story. So to that extent, right? Probably I can add some more detail over here, telling that this. Because workload related identities are different. But I think this is good enough, right? I think we say that this is the scope.
Yeah, I was asking this because, for example, you can get a token also from the Kubernetes API server itself. That when you have a service account, you get a token, and that is a token, but it's not exactly the same as the JVT token that you receive from an IDP. Okay,
I
this
got the
is the
point.
reason.
Yeah. So basically the
What you have
second,
in mind.
so second requirement, right? So the identity provider should be able to hand out tokens to workloads in different clusters. So this basically a Kubernetes server cannot do that, right? Because it cannot do across clusters, right? So this basically that's what I've tried to say over here. It's not limited to a single cluster. So the Kubernetes API server cannot meet this requirement, right? Because it cannot do it across clusters. So right. So to that extent, I think that sort of answers your query, right? So because we need to verify identities of workloads across clusters, and that API server cannot help you over there.
That's right. Yeah. So the token that is issued from the API server cannot be used across multiple clusters. So that's the fundamental point, right? That's the whole reason why we need identity across multi-cluster solution. So I think this is fine. Was a issue. So this requirements document, and then for further from the non-functional requirements part, what is the primary thing that we might have to talk about?
So I've just said, open source, basically because we don't want closed source, and high availability of the identity provider as it is a telco environment. Because I guess, I just added it because I felt, because we need to have, some sort of horizontal scaling or something like that, depending upon, because the number of workloads is going to be high, and
Correct.
we need identity. Yeah. So that's what I could think of. If there's any other thing we can, which I think you can mention that and we can take a look at it.
Sorry, but this is the solution should be based on open source. Which solution? The one for, because then you speak about identity provider. The solution for what?
This is workload identity only, Manuel.
Only,
Okay, so commercial tools such as high availability of the identity
sorry.
provider.
Basically, typo. Cut and paste. Yeah, sorry. That's it.
Two different things. Sorry. Okay.
We are using only open source based tools.
Okay. So what can we do here next? Shiv, what do you think we can do next? Do you think we are in a position that we can go to the next level dissection?
So that's what. So I've put all the details, a bunch of details in. In fact, Prashant has already begun some amount of POC work, and we were able to, do attestation across clusters. And based on that, we have written this particular document, and which basically gets into details of, individual. How verification actually, because I think this is a point of view, basically, how are we going to actually ensure verification of the claims, and how do we ensure that, a pod is whatever it claims to be. So this goes into some detail, but I just want to highlight one particular aspect that, this particular diagram tries to bring out what exactly are the identities which we can create, right? Like I have an example over here of a workload cluster 1, which has got 2 nodes, and a workload cluster 2, which has got another 2 nodes. And then based on this, I can create multiple identities. So whatever is this one, which is in pink, that's the per identity which is given out for a given node. And then whatever is marked in blue is basically identity which is given out per cluster, right? If you notice,
Yes.
the blue identity is, which is for the whole cluster. So all the nodes in that particular cluster will get this particular identity. And I have got green over here, which is identity across all clusters, right? So this is, a model which you can have multiple identities,
Correct.
which is across. Yeah. Sorry, you had a query.
No, yeah. So this makes sense. The point you're trying to make is even though that a workload might belong, it is not necessary that a workload might have just a single identity, right? It might carry multiple identities. And
Correct,
what
correct.
identity to be made use of in the connections is left up
Yes.
to the specific. So the question is eventually when in my opinion, Nefe is going to just have a single identity to begin with because it's a sidecar model. It has to make use. So let's say, for example, secret access has been made, or a secret request it tries to connect to the secrets server, right?
Correct.
It has to make use of an identity which is across the multiple clusters so that it can request for that secret. So the
Correct,
authorization
correct.
can happen, right? Like, so
Correct.
it can't make use of specific identity. So
Correct.
that scope has to be made clear. But this is good. So in general, Shiv,
Correct.
let me ask you this. So
Yeah.
keeping an end in sight,
Right.
what is it that we can try to convey to an external team? When I say external team, I mean folks outside of SIG Security, maybe for SIG automation, and what are those 2 or 3 things that we can convey from your perspective?
Right.
I'm just trying to understand so that if needed, I can use the same statements.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is what is the main thing, Rahul, in terms of this particular diagram. It says that a given workload entry is basically, what is the SPIFFE ID that we can give out to a given workload. So here I've tried to actually nail down and say that, although there are multiple options over here as per this diagram,
Okay.
but this is what we'll attempt, and keep it simple, where we give out based on network function type, which is given on a pod label. This is a SPIFFE ID which will be given out.
Got it. Yeah.
Got it? I mean, this is it. I mean, this particular, that's it.
Yeah.
Right. And you want to keep it simple so that, and then we can have secrets based on this particular SPIFFE ID. Right. I mean,
Shishiv, can you share this link to this document? Is it already? I don't see this link in the documentation section, right? Like, so I believe this is.
yeah, I shared it in the Slack. I'll put it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You have shared it on the Slack. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and then after that, we get into details of, how actually the verification works. So, and then we had query in terms of bootstrap bundles as to how the initial connection is established from the workload cluster to the management cluster. So this section talks about that. And then we had another query in terms of, how are we going to generate the kube config for a given, for doing the PSAT claim authentication. So this basically diagram talks about that. How do we generate the kube config? And then, yeah, that's about it.
Yeah, I think this is in sufficient detail to actually. The question is, can we get that kind of review done on this work item? Okay.
So how do we? I mean, we can have a session specifically for this, Rahul. I mean, with more detail and stuff like that. But then, yeah, we need some time. Basically, probably an hour or something like that. I think we can get into details of each of them.
But this meeting has enough time, right? Like a lot of times we have just a single point agenda. Like even we have a 15 minutes discussion and then we have 45 minutes paired.
Yeah, I think it will be great if I think we have
because we need participation, right? Like without
exactly.
this
Yeah,
meeting, the participation might
yeah,
reduce. Is what I'm worried.
correct. So
Hey, where did you share the link? Is it in the nephew? It's in the
nephew Slack,
Okay, okay, yeah,
nephew
yeah.
Slack.
Okay, got it.
I saw that too. If
Okay.
you have to scroll a little up
Yeah,
to
yeah,
find
yeah,
this.
yeah. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, I can run through it right now, Rahul, basically to get into some detail, or because we would like to have, I think Wim would be, a big stakeholder in the sense that because, because he had set out his concerns beginning, right? So
Yeah.
if you can address some of his concerns, I think that will be really.
So tomorrow, the statement that I'm going to make to the SIG automation, provided I get a chance to speak, because there's so many action items there. So the aim would be we have called out for action items in the R3 release. Those action items require um, some review to be done from some of the core team members, so that we need to understand the choice of design, which means attestation in this case, and all those things. How do we engage on that front, right? That is one of the points that I need to convey to the other team, like the SIG automation and SIG release team.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Shiv, I think from the identity access management requirement 5 for the workload identity, I just simply link to your two documents. I think that should be.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Then I'm going to remove to its own requirement because they're already covering requirements. So I just mentioned this requirement is fulfilled by the workload identity management. And then I put your two links from the Slack. And then I'm going to remove the requirement, our own requirement, because your requirement should be sufficient.
Yes, great. Yeah, that will be helpful. Yeah.
Okay, I will do.
Yeah. So I think, so the other thing which I had was I had a couple of queries on the identity and access management document. So I think at any time, if you can provide a clarification, that's fine. Or we can run through it right now. That's also fine.
We have time right now. So if you want to take another 5 minutes, that should be fine.
Yeah, sure. So I had this thing. Yeah, so in this, basically, where is this? Yeah, the core functional requirements manual. So we had this thing of client credential flow shall be supported for machine-to-machine authentication with secret as a credential. Yeah. So do you have any specific use case in mind, Manila, when you had this? Or
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, the use case is that if we have an external application to the SMO system that Nephew is part of, and
Correct.
we need to authenticate on the entire system, and we don't have any browser or graphical interface. The interaction with this external application that is a sort of a client of the product that Nephew System is part of. The connection is machine to machine, and for machine to machine in the OpenID Connect protocol, the flow to use for authentication is this client credential.
Got it. Yeah, makes sense.
And typically the idea, at least for what I have in mind for the Ericsson product, is that you have this any external interaction go to a unified, centralized control of the identities. And then this should expose the two flow, the authorization one and the client credential one, to support both machine to machine and human user interaction. Then once you are inside with the machine to machine, you can go and authenticate also on some workload. And here we have the interaction. Reusing, and all my questions in advance were related to the fact that in my idea, the same token that you collect in this first NBI authentication could be reused also internally to go to the API server, at least of the management cluster.
Yeah, so I have only one point over here. So basically, so even with workload identity, right? So this is the thing which came up. And so there is an interworking with OIDC, which can be done using the workload identity. And so I was basically, I remember Byung was mentioning the same thing, I think a couple of sessions, meetings back. Yeah, right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and basically, and I felt that it is a valid thing because, like, for example, even when we want to access a secret service, let us say, because eventually we'll be getting into secrets management, the secrets probably that particular entity may not be supporting SPIFFE and most likely to be supporting OIDC. So we need a way to interwork with OIDC, and there is a mechanism by which, the OIDC, I think it's called a verification claim. So you'll have a OIDC server which is running on along with SPIFFE on the management cluster. So that way, whatever identities are there, that can be mapped to OIDC tokens. I can talk about that probably next time. I don't have material right now. Or
maybe when we say interwork is too smooth to how to say. We need to better understand what we mean, because I think that the token as we receive, because if we use the typical identity provider that exists, they are able to manage the entire life cycle management of the token. So we can leverage on them without any additional issue on our own. And then we can try to use exactly the same token internally, and then use the SPIFFE infrastructure that you are proposing, that is based on certificate or token. And when they are token, we can have this token that flow inside the system. I mean, not just interwork, but using exactly that token to identify the external client.
So here it is flipped, Manuela. So basically, you can use the SPIFFE tokens also for external authentication. And let's say you are accessing an external service, you send across the same tokens, and that other service will get back to the Spire server and ask, is this a valid token? Right. And this guy says that yes, it is valid, and then the other server will allow the access. So it's flipped, right? So basically, you can use SPIFFE tokens itself for accessing external services. That's the point.
Yeah. And my doubt when I was thinking to this stuff is that in some case we need to leverage on some cluster that is not our own, meaning that the customer already has it, and then also the characteristic to authenticate on it that is anyway is characterized by a workload identity, but maybe is already based on some different mechanism because they already have their own IDP or I don't know what. So it was it's not so easy. Imagine if with the assumption that we have, we really cover all the cases, even when we don't have the control of everything here as clusters. Because
yeah.
clusters are the network below what in the past were the equipment, the node. So it could be already there. There is brownfield, there is everything. So
Yeah,
I
agree.
wasn't
Yeah.
sure how to manage, to imagine how to be compatible with what is already there.
Yeah, so that's the reason, right? So I've taken an example over here, right? So, for example, a workload in FO might access a secret service and authenticate itself using its workload identity. And so basically, then the secret, so basic requirement in this case, in this specific case, is the access is mediated using OIDC. So basically, that other secret service will contact the Spire server and ask, is this a valid token? And then the Spire server will say that it's a valid token, and that's how it happens. So there's a workflow available. So because it was a requirement, I didn't get into detail. I can, present or I can send across. I can talk about it in the next meeting. But you have a very valid point in the sense that you're trying to access an external service, and the external service doesn't have support for SPIFFE. But then most likely the external service will be having support for OIDC. And then you should be able to leverage OIDC to, use SPIFFE tokens. So that's possible. And there is, there's SPIFFE documentation available for that. I can share with the team, but so right now, this is all I have. Yeah.
So if you can share that information next week, we can review together. That's great.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, thank you. So yeah, so that is my main thing about client credentials. So that because this is already being handled in some sense, so that's why I sort of tried to point it out. The other thing query which I had was,
let me say that client credential is more common than the other one, because the wrap that are typically used in the context of SNO are machine and not users. This is why I push so much. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, we can compare basically, both these options are there, and we can take a look and definitely, see which one we feel is more secure or whatever, on whatever parameters. Yeah, I think that was my main, this one, queries which I had. Yeah. So that's about it. Yeah.
And then can you keep scrolling down? Keep going.
Yeah.
Then one more. R5. This is what I just referred to your documents.
Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you.
How we just use it. Okay. So
yeah, sure.
Simple.
Yeah.
Okay.
Brilliant. Yeah. Is that all, Shiv, or is there anything else?
And that's all.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much for working on this document. And thank you for folks who have reviewed and commented. Really appreciate. What is there anything else that we have for the discussion today?
Now, one question for Anila. So tomorrow, SIG automation meeting. You said 9 o'clock PT, which is the whole SIG meeting, right? Not the package management, package specialized.
Yeah, it's a standard. Yeah, it's a. One sec. I got to clarify this on the Slack channel. I'm going to send a message on the SIG automation channel.
Okay.
So I'll clarify it there on the SIG automation channel. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Rahul, question for me.
Yes.
I was unable to start the meeting last week.
Oh yeah. We discussed this.
I don't know if you can help get me.
Yes. I think. So I just received a credentials from bunch of login ID and password from Jen. I think it was before Jen, someone else. Kenny may most likely handed me over those things. But what I'll do is I'll forward the same email to you. Please check if you are able to log in with those credentials. If yes, that would be great. If not, then I think we'll have to keep on pushing in the next TSC call, right? We just bring up this point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Hey. Any other point, Ranjish?
Just one quick point. I know that I'm kind of parachuting now, and you guys had a lot of discussions, but just a thought, because the previous speaker was talking about machines. Recently, like in recent times, respect to identity, you talk about machine identity as a combination of either workload or devices, right? I don't know the scope of devices in FU, so I'm not sure whether this is the right question, but when you're looking at identities, you have user and workload. Are you considering machine identity as kind of a term which will include workload as well as devices? That be appropriate?
I think
from a terminology perspective, this is purely from a terminology perspective. You look at user, you look at workload, and probably you look if there's a relevance for devices, then you have two categories: user and machine identity, and machine identity consists of workload and device. Would that make sense?
What do you think, Shiv?
So currently, I think from the use case perspective, we have, we don't have machine identities as such, but then I would assume a workload is basically a pretty generic term, right? I mean, in the sense that it can be, yeah.
At least the industry terminology that I'm seeing, and maybe you can also check. What I'm seeing now is that machine is kind of an umbrella term where it includes non-human identities, which can be workloads or devices. So that's machine is not one of the identities, but machine identity, when you say, or machine identity management, when you say, it includes non-human identities, which can be a workload or a machine of any type.
So machine
sorry, not machine, sorry, device of any type.
Okay, so yeah, probably, we should definitely align with whatever is the industry, understanding of what a given thing is. But then
in industry, when I say, I don't mean only telco, I mean broader term of identity discussion that happens today from a security industry perspective. Machine identity includes workloads and devices, is what I understand. But maybe just a thought which I wanted to bring in, if it makes sense.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think if workload is already there as part of and if whatever workload identity we are using, and if that is aligning with whatever is our understanding outside, then probably it's fine. But then we need to specifically call out that this is not a device identity. I think that's one possible thing, right? Where because we don't have devices as such which we are calling them.
So if device is not relevant, maybe you can exclude that and maybe mention a term a sentence saying that workloads do not include devices. I mean, if you want to explicitly mention that.
Yeah, I think maybe we can add that clarification. I think that's one possibility. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that comment. Anything else? Right. So, okay. Thank you everyone for joining. Have a good day, good week ahead. And looking forward to connecting tomorrow if possible for some of the folks who might be able to join. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Good
all.
day. Bye-bye.